Good morning to you. I hope you're having a good morning. I enjoyed a little bit of time outside watering my flowers and stuff this morning. I hope you're having a good morning too. It's a beautiful June morning. Today's my anniversary, my friend's anniversary. They've been married, I think, 10 years now. Isn't that awesome? Happy anniversary, Mary and Johnny. So, love you guys. Anyway, today's their anniversary, and it's a day to celebrate. It's a beautiful day. It's been beautiful, not without struggles as any day, as any years, as any decade, but God's got them, right? And God's got us. That's the most important thing to always come back to. No matter how good it gets or no matter how difficult it gets, God has got us, right? And that's one thing I want to talk about today. I'm kind of coming off of yesterday's when we talked about, starting with giving it to God rather than waiting till it gets really bad and giving it to God, right? Or trying to do it in our own strength and then running to God going, okay, I messed all this up, right? And he always bails us out. He's always there for us. That's the good part. He doesn't say, well, no, you said you could do it yourself, so just no, don't worry about it. No, he's not like that. He's like, okay, let me help you. Let me help you fix it. Sometimes he doesn't just flip a switch and fix it, but he can help us walk through the redemption process and the healing process and all of that. It's a process, though, right? And so I was coming off of that, and here's what I was thinking about this morning in my meditations and prayers, and even in my studies, was David at Ziklag. We talk about that a lot. Here he is. He's joined with Philistine armies, but they won't let him fight because they're actually afraid of him, and they're afraid that he'll get over there with the Israelites and see his people and go, I can't do this, and wipe out the Philistines. It was actually a fear-based decision, right? We're talking warriors here, right? And they said, no, you can't fight with us because they one guy really trusted him, but the other guy was like, let's not take him just because I don't know. So they go back to Ziklag and they find that they have been totally wiped out. Their wives, children, this is their wives. The city was burned with fire. This is 1 Samuel 30. Their wives, their sons, their daughters had all been taken captive. And then it says, David and the people who were with him lifted up their voices and wept until they didn't have the strength to cry anymore. Now get this picture though. See, I read that and I feel their deep grief, right? I feel the sense of loss. And we're talking people here, not just houses and land. We're talking their wives, their children, their relatives, their cousins, all their city is wiped out, right? And these are grown men. And they're not just grown men, they're grown soldiers, right? They are armed. They're wearing armor. They're big dudes. They're not little scrawny dudes sitting over in a corner, crying. They're big warrior dudes, and they're crying until they literally don't have the strength. They're in a spot. They're in a spot. But here's what I was thinking about this scenario. Besides the funny fact, I mean, oh come on, it's kind of funny. Not to make fun of their situation, but it's kind of funny because they're big old dudes and they start bawling and squalling like little kids, right? And so, but David did not tell them, okay, come on, you guys are soldiers, you guys are warriors. Pick up your sword, wipe off your tears. Come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. No, he didn't do that. David, instead, it said David strengthened or encouraged himself in God. Isn't that, doesn't that all just seems like a kind of funny scenario? Here he is, rides in on his horse, that gets off and sees, they probably saw the smoke from the city burning from a ways away. Maybe they hurried a little bit to get there, and they get there and everything's gone. If they burn the city, their stuff is gone too. Thankfully, the lives of their people were saved. They didn't harm anyone, but they took them all. They took them captive, similar to Daniel, the three Hebrew children. Remember that whole story, right? Everything they loved is gone. And then they didn't do that. He did not try to do it in his own strength. It says he encouraged himself in God. And so my next thought was this: What psalms did he write right during that time? Hope this didn't drop me. It looks like it messed up. Anyway, what psalms did he write? And so I couldn't find anything real super definitive that said, oh, he definitely wrote these, but I came up with two that he probably wrote during that time. And one of them was Psalm 61, which says this. He starts out. David starts out with, "Hear my cry, O God. Listen to my prayer. From the end of the earth I cry to you when my heart is overwhelmed. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I." And I have sang this psalm so many times myself. I've sat at that piano right there and sang this song when my heart was overwhelmed. And David's heart was overwhelmed. All of his men's hearts were overwhelmed. They were melting down. These big bad soldier dudes were melting down. And yet David is saying, "Hear my heart, God. My heart is overwhelmed." But then he goes on down and listen to this. He says, "I will abide in your tabernacle forever. I will trust in the shelter of your wings." He went right to God. When things got tough, he didn't say, "I'm a soldier. I got this. Grab your swords. Come on, get your shields. Let's go." He didn't encourage himself in himself, and he didn't encourage his soldiers that were following him in their own strength and their own power. Instead, he encouraged everyone in the Lord. And the other psalm was Psalm 56, and it says this. It says, "Be merciful to me, O God, for man would swallow me up." Man, was he feeling that right then? He's been rejected by the army he's working with. He's good at what he does, and he's kind of rejected because he's good at what he does, right? And he has a pure heart, and he's serving God, and he's saying that they want to swallow me up. Fighting all day, he oppresses me. My enemies would hound me all day, for there are many who fight against me, O Most High. He's crying out to God in the midst of his anguish. He didn't run to his own strength. He didn't go to his buddies and go, "Okay, guys, what are we going to do?" And then and listen to this. Now, you got to picture a soldier writing this. Okay, this is like a Green Beret Marine, right? Or a Navy SEAL, right? And he says this: "Whenever I am afraid, I will trust in you." That doesn't that just get you? If you picture this dude, big old buff guy with armor on and his sword, maybe he stuck the sword in the ground next to him and he knelt down and he's going, "When I'm afraid, God, I'm going to trust in you." Man, if he can be scared, I can be scared sometimes, right? Things can be scary. Things can be disheartening. Things can be overwhelming. But when they come at us, we got to go straight to God and just go, "God, I'm going to trust you." Because right after this, or that's really where he starts making his declarations, right? "When I'm afraid, I will trust in you. In God, I have put my trust. I will not fear." He's going, "I'm scared and I ain't going to be because God's got me," right? He goes on, he says, "I will praise his word. I will praise the Lord." I think that was it. Let me see if there's one more in here. But he makes all these declarations. And he says again, "I will not be afraid." He said, "I will not be afraid" three times in this psalm. David, the soldier dude, the dude is going to be king, had to tell himself three times and declare, "I will not be afraid. I will praise God." Right, and that's just in Psalm 56, and then Psalm 61, which he may have also written in that time. He says, "I will trust in your shelter, God. I will sing praises to you. I'm going to trust God. I will cry to you." If David can be afraid, we can too. And when we face anything that's difficult, anything that's complicated, we can't figure it out mentally, we can't figure it out financially, we can't figure it out emotionally, all we have to do is trust God. And just maybe I have to tell myself 100 times a day, "I'm not going to be afraid of this. God's got me." And that's part of what declaring is reminding yourself, you know, I will trust in God. Maybe we have to encourage ourselves every day a million times by saying, "I will trust in God. God's got me. I will stay under the shelter of the Almighty. I will trust him for a solution. I will trust him for peace. I will trust in his grace. I will trust that his mercies are new every morning." Some days I need to say that a bajillion times, and I don't even know how many zeros a bajillion has, but it's got a whole bunch, right? But I have to constantly encourage myself in the Lord, not encourage myself in myself. Now, there's times I can say, "Okay, I got this. It's all right." But I always want to come back to that. "God, I'm trusting you. I will trust you in this situation, no matter how big, no matter how vast, no matter how easy." I even need to trust God with the easy stuff. I want to trust him with my whole heart. That's the whole key. And David was trusting God with his whole heart. And he was in a really sticky situation that most of us don't even have a clue what that would be like, right? But he was trusting God, and we can trust God with our today too. So peace out. Trust God for today. Say it out loud to yourself if you need to. I will trust you, God. I will trust you. I will trust you. I will trust you. Right? Say it however many times you need to. Just trust God that He's got you today. Encourage yourself in God, not in your own abilities. Although that's not bad. That's not a bad thing. But we want to go past that and say, I'm going to trust God to give me the abilities to work through this situation. I'm going to trust God to give me the wisdom to work through this problem I've got or whatever, to find a solution. I will trust God. I will cry to Him instead of myself or my friends, even, right? And the friends are good. David had friends, and he encouraged the soldiers after he encouraged himself in God. God's got us. Let's go get our stuff, right? So go get that peace that God's given you. Go get that wisdom that He's given you. Go get that grace and mercies that are new every morning. Go get it. It's yours, right? Encourage yourself. Make your declarations today. Have a great day. Peace out. I'll see you tomorrow.